Ooh.
Very
Hi
nice.
guys, welcome to episode 36 of Get Your Buzz On. I have special guest,
Gabriel Reyes,
owner of
Reyes and Reyes Law Firm.
Yay, I'm so excited. So we start off the episode with having a glass of champagne. At least this is my way of saying, hey, it's okay to have a alcoholic beverage before 12 o'clock.
Absolutely. Best way to start a Wednesday, right?
Exactly. It's the middle of the week and we can get through it. So cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on. Oh, that's delicious.
Well, thank you for having me.
That's delicious. So tell us, what do you and your law firm and everything specialize in?
Well, we're a family law firm, and I mean, not family law, but it's my family. It's my dad, my uncle, my cousin, my sister. We're all lawyers here, and we do Social Security disability law. So, and what that is just kind of like if someone gets hurt or gets sick and they can't work anymore, that's where they would apply for their benefits, and we would kind of step in and help them get those.
I got you.
And so, right, especially now with the pandemic, it's become being essential to get those types of help, those benefits and that help, because when you're without work, that's what your insurance is usually tied with, and if you're getting sick and going to the hospital, especially with COVID, you need some help with that. And
Yeah. Have you seen it change this year with everything?
I have. With our office, we used to see over 100 people a day, and just having to close our doors and not having so many people because every single one of our clients had underlying conditions. So we kind of lost that personal touch with them coming into the office, so we've been having to do everything by phone. But we're still, luckily, trying to communicate with them as much as possible. And we found a lot more cases because people are getting sick. El Paso is such a hot spot right now for COVID.
It's crazy.
And it's even if they recover, they're still having some problems with breathing. They're not getting the ability back where they can go back to their job. And so they're applying for these benefits, and that's where we can help and step in and help not just them, but their family get some money, get some insurance so they can kind of continue with their health care.
How long have you guys been in business?
Almost, the firm has been in business for about 52 years now. My dad started back in 1972. He was actually a judge when he first got out of law school for Social Security, and that's kind of how we started Social Security. And I've been here for about 16 years. My cousin 15, my sister 10 years, and my brother-in-law is here as well. So
That's crazy. So is that why you specialized in the Social Security law?
Yes, that's my dad and my uncle. They started doing everything.
Yeah.
They would do family law, criminal law, a lot of criminal law, and they always had that kind of Social Security on the side. And then they just kept getting more and more clients, and to the point where we were doing pretty much all the Social Security law here in El Paso. So we have 4 offices now in Dallas, Austin, Phoenix, and here. Because we feel like our way of doing business, being personal, being someone who you can talk to, like a lot of complaints we would always hear from other people is they never really talk to the attorney. They would talk to the assistant, or they talk to the secretary or the paralegal. Legal. And we always kind of advertise that you talk to us. When we're going for your case, we're going to know you because these are personal cases. This is dealing with your health, with your family, and what you used to do and what you can't do anymore. So we try and be as personal as possible, and we use that formula to try and, especially around in Texas, kind of use that to get people to know us, and we kind of cater to the Spanish-speaking community as well.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure they appreciate that, especially like when you're older and you're trying to figure out all these legal jargon and you don't know any of this stuff. It's tough. And me not being in law, how has like the process changed? Like when you have to go to the courts, or how do they have it all set up now?
Right, and with us, we do a lot of just administrative law. So it's more hearings where we actually don't even go to the courthouse. It's a federal building we go into, and we meet with the judge there, and it's just us, the claimant, and the judge. And there's no really like a prosecutor. It's just trying to convince the judge that they need their benefits or how severe the problems are.
I gotcha. Well, so now are you guys still meeting at the courthouse, or?
No, unfortunately with the pandemic, we're doing phone hearings. We're going to start doing kind of like a Zoom type hearings, and that's going to be starting next month. So we've been doing just telephone hearings for the past 7 months now.
Oh my gosh. So has that made the process a lot longer?
It's made it a little bit harder because a lot of times you lose that personal connection, even with the judge, because you're trying to convince this judge that they need help, and like say someone with arthritis and their hands are all messed up, and you kind of see the joints when you see them here in the office. You can't really express that to the judge anymore. They don't see that, and you kind of have to just convey that over the phone, and that's tough to kind of get that personal connection.
Yeah. Well, what made you want to be an attorney or get in this field?
Yeah.
Besides your dad.
Yeah, I grew up, my dad would go anywhere in El Paso and everyone would be like, hey, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Reyes. Like they all knew him everywhere. But I was supposed to be the doctor of the family, and I did pre-med for like 2 years, and then after 2 years I was like, I don't like this. I was in the middle.
Hard.
I was in the middle of a lab, and I was just kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I kind of fell into law, and my dad was like, go to law school, and he kept pushing me and saying, that's an option you can do. And so I kind of fell into law, and then after I did it so quickly, getting through law school in those 3 years, looking back, it went quickly, but during it was very hard. But that's where my sister and my cousin are like, oh, we can do it too, and jumped aboard.
What's the biggest misconception about law that people have? Because I know there's so many different parts. So yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that people think that it's something that they can't manage, that they can't really get through. And we're definitely here to help, but a lot of like the legal terms and a lot of the concepts, and that's where we try and kind of explain to our clients that this is something you can definitely get through and do without a lot of complication. And so I think that's the biggest misconception, is that it's just so difficult to get through, and you can't really do it, and you need the attorneys. Like we tell our clients, sometimes they may not even need us. I'll say, look, you just go apply, see if you can get it, and if you get denied, then you come see us. But you should have a good enough case where you won't need us. Yeah. And so I think that's the biggest misconception. Just people just don't understand. You can try and do things without having that attorney, but we can definitely help if they do get stuck. Yeah. And when you were in law school, what are some of the avenues that you were interested in? Was it just pure Social Security, or were you looking at?
I knew I was going to be a Social Security lawyer because my dad and my uncle, they were like, we need the help. You need to come help us. As soon as you're done, come help us.
You're like, you need to do it.
They had the job waiting, so I kind of knew going through law school that was going to be my path. But yeah, I did an immigration clinic. I did a criminal clinic. I actually did a DWI case. I kind of wanted to get a feel for different parts of the law, but because I knew I was going to be, once I'm finished with law school, I knew I was going to be kind of in Social Security. Yeah. And so I kind of explored it a little bit, and I still have that, and I still use it today because lots of people will come in with questions, and I can help them with immigration, help them with criminal law, and just kind of give them some consultations.
So is criminal law, is that more in the courts and everything that you see on TV?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Those are the real lawyers. I always say, like, I'm not one of those real lawyers where I go in front and do that.
That you see on the television, and that they fight for everything.
I know, and that's kind of what I wanted to do when I was going through law school. I was like, I want to be in front of the jury, I want to be talking, I want to be convincing people of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And I knew, Social Security was not like that. I'd kind of seen that already, so. But yeah, that was kind of something that drew me to the law as well. I liked talking to people. I liked convincing them of a point. My wife hates it because, she's like, stop being a lawyer. I was trying to argue cases with her, but.
She's like, no, you're not a lawyer right now.
Don't do the lawyer thing, right?
She's like, I'm the boss right now. I'm the attorney and the judge.
And her arguing style has gone much better after the years of being with me, so we can go back and forth. But it's that's something I kind of was interested in, but then I knew they needed the help here in El Paso, and so I was happy to join them here.
Yeah. How is it with the family business?
Good and bad. Family business, I love working with my dad. I love working with my sister, my cousins, and there's always conflicts here and there, a little butting of heads, sibling rivalry type of things. Yeah. But ultimately, I do love working with my family, being here and keeping an eye on my dad, seeing how he's doing. He loves to be around people. We get to take trips all together, so, it's nice.
Yeah. Well, and I think, because we have a family business too, I think it's nice that you don't have to worry about things not getting done, or the trust factor of like, they're going to be slacking it, or they're not doing what they need to do. So that's what makes it nice. But I think everyone gets so passionate about the business that sometimes it kind of starts colliding a little bit. So you have to just take a step back sometimes. But I totally understand that whole process of it.
Yeah, and that's we're kind of transitioning right now. My uncle, and my dad, they're passing the business off to us officially in a month, and it's going to be myself, my cousin, and my sister. They're going to be the full owners.
Oh, wow.
And so we've already been kind of like, what are we going to do with the business? What direction do we want to take
Yeah.
it in? So, but you're right. With family, it's like you don't really have to worry that they're going to try and undermine you
Yeah.
or do something against the business, because it's a family business. We
All
all want
wanted
it to succeed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think, well, with us, what really helped was that we just said, I think we realized everyone's got their pros and cons. So we just said, okay, my dad's really good with like numbers and all the boring stuff and taxes and all that stuff. My mom's really good with like managing staff and doing the employees and training, which that in itself is really hard. And I'm really good with the social media, the marketing and all that. So I think now that we've like established, okay, these are your roles,
Yeah.
then it makes it a lot easier to where, I'm not saying we don't disagree on certain things, but at least sometimes it makes it easier to say, okay, well, this is my area, so don't get involved.
Yeah,
So.
and you're right. When you do have those conflicts, it's kind of hard because you see them every day. Like you
Yeah.
work with them, then you go home and you're right there with them at family
It's
functions.
awkward.
Yeah,
Well, then I'm like, I'm mad at you, but I still need you to watch my kid on Friday.
exactly.
I'm like, I still need a date night, so
So-
are you still mad at me?
We have our Thanksgiving party right around the corner.
like,
time. Yeah.
thank you. Well, and I would say in the office, it's so cool. Tell us about like when they open it up and everything, because I got the whole like vision of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is one of the older buildings on. We're right off Montana on the historic district. We moved here about 15 years ago, right after I graduated from law school. They kind of knew I was coming. They needed more space. And then my cousin was 1 year right behind me. So they were off on Rio Grande and Newman. That was their first office. And they were actually one of the first law firms in this area where they did the redistricting. So that's where they kind of started the whole Lawyer Row down here on Montana Street. But this building itself has been here since 1904, I believe, and some strange stories I was talking to you about. This is supposedly a haunted place, so now that we're close to Halloween, you might see something. But it's a little girl who supposedly haunts this building, and we used to throw big Halloween parties because of that, and to see if we can just, I didn't want to mess with her, but just play a little bit around with that tradition. And so we had the two buildings, and it used to be a halfway house and a kind of a mental institution or ward on the other side. And so when we bought the place, we still had the beds with the shackles and everything. And so we had pictures of smoke in the background with faces type of thing. So it was interesting to hear the stories of this place.
Well, didn't you say your dad, the radio would come on?
Yeah. So in one of my dad's offices upstairs, all of a sudden he had a radio he would just turn on and then turn all the way up. And we've had calls to the police that they said someone's called and they'd been in locked room over the weekend and it's been locked. No one's been in the office. We check cameras, don't know who called, but they said there was a 911 call that came in. One of the radio stations actually came in here a few years ago and they left like a microphone.
Yeah.
And supposedly there was and when you listen to it, it sounds like a help me. It's like, help me in the background. So that's kind of
that freaks me out. I'm like,
and she's always been, we've had clients that they say they've seen a little girl walking the halls or upstairs, and so.
oh my God.
Yeah, and her name is supposedly Anita, so we have our friendly presence here in the office.
So are you guys here after hours when it's dark?
Oh, I try not to be. This place
I love how you're like, okay, now, but I mean, she's friendly, but we ain't gonna be here after her.
When the sun goes down, I'm out of here. Yeah.
You're like, no.
Yeah, because since it's such an older home, you have all these shadows and noises and creaking are going around. It's kind of creepy at night.
Yeah, just a little. I would, no. I'd
But-
be out at 5.
But that was a perfect premise for a Halloween party, and that's why we like it. And we were supposed to do it this year, but again with the pandemic, we were going to bring it back, and no, I just didn't.
I'm sure there were a lot of fun here too.
Oh, it was a blast.
Not a sober person in sight. Well, do you guys hire anyone on, or do you guys do internships, or how do you guys?
Absolutely. We do both internships. We try and help people if they are interested in law school to try and kind of give them an insight of what they can do and what we've done, because we put so many of our family members through law school.
Yeah.
So if they ever needed advice on what to do as far as applying, how law school was in general, what kind of things we did, steps we did before law school, because we have so many different majors. My cousin was an RTF major, radio, television, film. I was a sociology major, and so you can go pretty much in any background.
You don't have to be political science.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And so we just kind of help them say, this is what you need to do. This is the prep courses we took. This is what you're really going to be focusing on when you're applying. Different types of programs that we've done, like the CLEO program, to help get into law school. So we try and do as much as we can for the community.
Yeah. And so where did you go to undergrad and law school?
I went to UT in Austin for undergrad, and then St. Mary's in San Antonio for law school.
How'd you like?
It was a huge change because UT is such a big school.
Yeah.
You had the 500-person classes, and then when I went to law school, it was like 10 people in a class. So
yeah.
I love the change where it was such a huge environment to that small, more intimate type of learning. And so I did really well with St. Mary's and in that type of environment. And I really enjoyed San Antonio. I thought San Antonio was very similar to El Paso.
Yeah.
Just with a lot more things to do. A lot bigger area. So I liked San Antonio, and then I always knew I was going to come back to El Paso because El Paso's always been home for me, and it will always be home for me. I did go to Austin to open that office there. I was there for about 6 years, but I kind of missed El Paso. I love El Paso, and that's why I knew I was going to be here.
What are some of the growing pains that you guys had when you were expanding? because you said you had, 5 or
4 offices,
4?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, don't quote me on that.
Well, hopefully we'll get soon. But the growing pains, it's just that first getting our name out there. And that's why we kind of targeted the Hispanic community whenever we're going to those different places. We're advertising in Spanish. We tell them, look, we can speak to you in Spanish. Come talk to us, because we can explain a lot of these letters that come only in English type of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we would get our foot in the door. And we started using that kind of formula where you talk to us, you talk to the attorney, we'll be there for you. We give our cell phone numbers out to our clients. So I think that's, the growing pains was just getting people to know that we're out there and we can do a lot for them. So we just spent a lot of money on advertising at first, and I'd be there a lot of times. It was just me waiting, like, please let someone come in. Waiting.
You're like, come on.
I'm here, I'm ready. So I did flyers. I'd go and just myself kind of go to Social Security and put flyers, and they'd run me off the parking lot. They said, you couldn't be doing that. So just trying to get people to know that we were there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a business owner, when you're in a family business, when your name's on it, you're going to do whatever it takes. I think people don't realize that they might not see you being an attorney and going out and giving flyers to people. Right. So I think that's a good point that you bring out, is that when you're opening up something, you're going to do things that you never thought you were going to have to do.
Well, and I attribute a lot of that to my dad. Like, he's always he told us to be humble, be someone that you can be approachable to. You always treat people nicely. It's the way we run our business, and that's why we have a very laid back kind of atmosphere here in the office. We want to make people feel comfortable, like they are talking to family, and that's kind of what we want to do, is treat you like family, because that's the way we've all been raised. Is everyone has a story, everyone has trouble, and we just want to help. Yeah.
Well, and I think what's the biggest misconception that people have when they want to open up a law firm or working for a law firm, that you think that they need a reality check on? It's
the getting the clientele, getting the people out there, and it's you'll do good work, and a lot of it comes from word of mouth. So once we started, and I found that to be true in Austin, because we were doing all this advertising, but it was only until we started winning our cases, we go down there and do cases, and they would tell their family, and they tell their family members. So I think that was the hardest thing, was to get the clientele and get the word out that we can help, and we are doing a good job. And word of mouth, I think, is definitely one of the best ways to advertise, because it kind of spreads like, oh, these people are good and they won my case, you should go talk to them. Yeah. So once they get that opportunity to talk to me, then I can usually win them over and say, this is what I can do, and I'd love to help you. I never thought about that. It just takes so much time to get the clients to come in, because you have, a lot more competition in these different cities. So it's like you're having to
make yourself, differentiate yourself from everyone else.
And we had our little office, just like a one or two room office, and I'm just there in the middle,
You're
trying
like,
to
hi.
please trust me, I can do it, I promise.
I got you. I got your back.
Yeah.
Well, I think, it's when, that's what I tell people, when you start off in different areas, it's just, that's why I love El Paso too, because when you're in a big city, it's a lot more competition. You're doing a lot in El Paso. I feel like you're able to really try it out and see if you can do it and move it towards that area.
Yeah, and I think that's El Paso is known to be friendly people, and we want to try and we try to take that kind of formula, like I said, and be laid back, be friendly, be talking to as many clients as possible, not to hide behind any type of paralegal or manager. If they're coming yelling and screaming, we'll deal with it. We'll talk to them and kind of get their problem solved.
So when you guys do internships, is it more for college internships, or do you guys have like high school? Because I know there's
Both,
like
actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's pre-law programs and high school pre-law programs at UTEP, and so we'll take whoever really wants to come and get a view of what our office is like and what our type of law is, because the beauty about a law degree is you can do so many things with a law degree. There's so many doors that are opened up with that. And so we're just one little aspect of what you can do with a law degree. So we wanted to show them kind of like what we've done and how we've done our business and how we treat our clients, and hopefully they'll pick up something here and there.
That's what my dad, he was like, please just get a law degree. He's like, do you know how much I'd save? He's like, you don't even have to practice, just get it. And I was just like, no, like it's not for me. And I remember it was like, just ball drop, mic drop on that one. Because he's just like, all right, what are you going to do? And so, but there is so many entities that you can do. I probably would have done it now, knowing what I know now, I probably would have looked at it completely different. But I think that people don't realize, even just, you don't even have to practice and do. I think that's what I thought, that you have to be in the court and fight it out and do I saw too many, watched too much Law and Order. That's probably what it was. I'm like, I don't want to fight every day and do this stuff.
I have no idea like how to get around the courthouse. I've been a lawyer for 15 years. And
So
I've been there
like,
twice. Yeah, exactly. It's like, can you show me the court? I don't know anything about the courthouse.
That's hilarious. So when you guys have clients, do you guys share clients, or how does that work, like with your sister and your cousin?
Yeah, we have a system where we know each other's notes, and we kind of have a standard kind of way of writing things. So when we get the file for each client, we've seen what the other has done, and we can pick up right where they left off and go forward from there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then one person will be assigned to them when they actually go to court, and they'll be kind of the point person to take them and give them an orientation before, get them ready for court, because I think that's the best way to win cases is to get your client ready, because we've done it a million times, but this is their one case and their one opportunity, so we want to make sure they're well prepared to know what to say and what we're going to be asking before we go to the court hearing. So.
I gotcha. Well, and how, like, with COVID and everything, how do you see it's going to change in the next, year? Because I think it's not going to go away.
Right. I think we're still pretty far away from going back to our normal, what we used to be.
Yeah.
And especially, again, with Social Security, you're dealing with people with those underlying conditions, so you have to be really careful. Like, we've done plexiglass all over the office and masks and everything. But I think COVID's going to have lasting effects. Like, it's, you can recover from it, but it's still going to be affecting your lungs. Some people have some heart complications. And I think that's where we're going to really be stepping in to help them out, because a lot of times they won't be able to go back to their jobs or get the jobs that they used to have. Yeah. And they're going to need some help, and they're going to need some insurance to continue with their medical treatment. So I think COVID is going to add some complications to people's lives and health later on down the road, even after they've recovered. But to be able to come and talk to us and see us, that's what's really impacted us during this pandemic, is we can't see them too much. We can't talk to them face to face, which we were used to, which kind of was our standard of business here, is to kind of get to know you, to be face to face with us. Yeah. So I think that's been the biggest change, is that we have to make that personal connection over the phone, and so we just do a lot of phone calls. Yeah.
Well, I had done, when I was doing the podcast, I did two or three, I don't know, I think two, but I did them on Zoom. And I just don't like it like that. I like to get, maybe that's me being Mexican and I'm so nosy about trying to figure out everything. But I just couldn't build that relationship with somebody. I would just be on Zoom, and then you'd have the delayed internet, or I just didn't like it at all.
Especially you're used to talking to people face to face. You know, you lose so much when you're not there face to face and telling
Well,
them.
and you get vibes. Like if
Yeah.
you know someone's uncomfortable, then you're like, okay, I'm not gonna ask that question. But you know, that's how I get. I'm like, okay, I can see how far I can push it, or like
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, and that's part of being a lawyer is getting the trust of your client to know that, you know, when we go out there to fight for you, we're going to do everything we can to fight for you, and that's part of that connection comes from those interactions when they
Yeah.
get to talk to you and they get to know you a little bit more, and then they know they have that faith and that trust in you that you're going to go and fight for them as best as possible.
Yeah, it's that relationship building. So it's not just
Absolutely.
sales. That's what I tell people. I'm like, you're constantly having to build that relationship in whatever you're trying to do to build your whatever business you're in. So that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, I don't care what job or what occupation it is. It's all about the relationships you build.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing is communication runs in everything. In any occupation, any job, you always have to have good communication and that good interaction with people to know that they're with the right person. They're
Yeah.
with the right person to do things.
So who handles like all your marketing and like all that kind of stuff?
A little bit of both. The younger attorneys like myself, and we do like the social media aspect.
Yeah.
We meet with the internet people. And my dad and my uncle they still like doing some of the older school like billboards and yellow pages type of thing if there
That's
is.
my dad.
And so we kind of both, we're trying to do the new stuff like geofencing and getting around, especially like social security areas to know that they can come to Reyes and Reyes. But my uncle handles a lot of like the TV, the billboards, and the other type of older advertising.
Well, when I had first moved back, I didn't know how much yellow pages cost. My dad had both pages like full. And then when he was like, I think it was crazy, like some crazy amount a month, like $5 to $8, and don't quote me on that, but $5,000 to $8,000 a month just to have that one page. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. You know how much you could spend on? And at that time, it was Facebook was
Yes,
like
yeah.
the bigger one, and now it's like Instagram and all that stuff. But I just couldn't believe how expensive. I'm like, do you know what we could do with that with like Google and all that stuff? And me trying to convince him to like. To just like think outside the box on that. And so
Yes.
finally I said, we don't need it. We don't have to have it. Like, we're fine. And it just took so long for me to have to tell him like, it's going to be fine if we don't have a yellow page.
Yeah, and that's part of the family dynamic as well.
Yeah.
Is like you have to trust me that we know what we're doing, and any of those new changes, sometimes really hard to show them like this is going to work. Just trust me.
Well, especially with how much money that is. I'm like, do you know how much
Yes.
I could do like on Google? Like, I could do so much more and reach so much more people than just a book that people don't even use anymore. So yeah, that was definitely a process. And my mom was in the middle of that when she'd be like, okay, you guys are fighting again. And my husband too, he's like, you and your dad are the same person. Like, just calm down.
Yeah, and I love it when like I'm on my phone and our ad would come up and I was like, see, look,
Exactly,
this is what
like
I'm
the
doing.
banner ads and all that stuff.
Yeah. See,
Exactly.
that's what people on their phone or on their tablets all the time now. It's like they don't look for yellow pages. They just go to Google, and that's where we need to be.
I had one guy on, Lynn, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks, or last week, and he was talking about how your phone, you think it's like to use it to call people, but that's the 8th reason that people use it. So people use it for everything else but to call.
Right.
So I'm like, that's what we need to do, is just focus so much on the cell phones and to get your name out there and to just build that brand.
Right.
And I think with my dad, it was like, what's the return on investment? That's like his whole thing all the time. So it took me a while, but.
Yeah, for us it's conversions. It's like how much
Yeah.
money are you spending and how many people are actually calling and saying, hey, I want to be a client of yours. So, but yeah, you're right. I think phones, people are so attached to their phones now. It's like that is their life. And so we need to be on that platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get to the nitty gritty now. I want to know the personal stuff.
Let me have another drink.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what I get to. What's things that people don't know about you?
Well, I don't know. I'm an open book. I usually I don't really hide anything from people. I don't know.
Is there any hobbies that people don't know, or?
I don't really do too much. My girls, I have 2 small girls, and I'm a big family man, so I love being with them.
Yeah.
I like to travel with my wife. I play golf with a couple of my friends. That's the only thing I've been able to do during the pandemic too.
I know.
But no, I think traveling with my wife, I think, has been probably the best thing in these last few years. Just especially after having kids and having to have that connection and keeping our foundational kind of relationship strong. I think that's it.
Well, it's just to let them know that we're still here. We're still cool. We still have fun. You know, we're still alive. Like, what are some of the? Because you were telling me you've been to Thailand. What are some of the other places that you guys have gone to that have been really?
We have taken our girls to Cancun, to Cabo, all through Mexico, Costa Rica. So we like just to kind of explore new places, not too far because we don't like leaving our kids for too long. But Grandma and Grandpa love it. They love having the kids. But I think we just short trips to Las Vegas for just to kind of reconnect with each other.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Cancun and all that stuff, you can't beat all those areas for the price, and then taking the whole family. It's like all inclusive. You guys eat and do whatever you want,
Yeah, absolutely. And my wife will still, we love doing date nights. Like we'll still go out to Cincinnati Street and hang out there with our friends and stay out too late a couple of times. But
for sure. What are your guys' favorite spots to go on a date?
During the day or at night?
Oh, I'll take both.
At night, where you probably find us at Palomino when Cincinnati's going, or Champagne Villain, or Good Times, all that, Lost and Found. We'll bounce around there. During the day, restaurants, we love to eat, so we love trying new places here in El Paso. And some of our favorite restaurants, like Que Flauta, I love Que Flauta, Carnitas Querétaro. I love Caperos, but that closed down, so we missed that. But it's just hanging out with the family now with the girls during the day, and then at night when we do have our date nights, we'll be out and about. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I still have those days, but my hangovers last a lot longer. I like when I wake up and I'm just like, okay, I gotta be a parent and act like I have my life together.
It's like we'll get home at 2 or 3 in the morning, and 3 hours later, the kids are bouncing on you. So it's you gotta get up.
Those nights are the nights that they wake up the earliest.
Yes.
And you're just like, my eyelash is right here on my face, and I'm just like, and those are the longest days.
Literally, they'll be bouncing on myself on the couch, and they're just bouncing on me. I was like, okay, you're doing good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, here's the TV. Give me a second.
But I definitely like to have fun, and we still go out. El Paso, like I said, is such a fun place, and it's so sad. And with the pandemic, we can't go out and see our friends. I
know, it's so weird right now. I think that everyone's trying to do the best, and then El Paso's made the national news with how high it's been, and I just think I'm just over it. Do you think? Well, and I'm not trying to get too political, but do you think after the election that we're going to see a drop in?
Oh, I hope so. But I think it depends on who wins, and we're definitely a Biden-Harris law firm and family here. So we're hoping that's going to take a better direction. When President Trump is saying that Texas is fine and New York is fine, and we see our numbers, it's like, no, it's not.
No, and I think when it first, I just think that there's so much unknown going on with the pandemic that we just didn't know, and I think the more and more it's just going on, it's just leaving a lasting effect, especially on a lot of small businesses that, I have a lot of friends in the restaurant business that they haven't been able to reopen, or there's some restaurants that have just completely closed down because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were one of the recipients of the PPP loans, and that helped us out tremendously because we were trying to we kept our staff going the entire pandemic because we were having hearings and had to keep business going. And so that helped us out tremendously in keeping our staff and not having to lay anybody off. And I know we were pretty fortunate that we've kind of got through the worst of it, I hope. But there are some businesses that just couldn't survive it.
Well, and like my friends that are in restaurants, they're like, well, we had to have them file for unemployment. And then because of the occupancy, they're not making any money. They said it costs more just to open the doors because of the food and the overhead. So they're just like, it's easier for us to just keep the doors closed and have these people going on unemployment. Yeah. And it's just crazy to me how the economy and everything has changed.
Yeah, especially here because there's so many little mom and pop type of stores and shops, and they're the ones getting hit. They're being devastated by this, and it's so sad. And that's why we always try and eat local and try and do as much as we can for the local community. So yeah, it's sad though.
Well, and then it's crazy too, because like the real estate market on the other side, that's been booming like crazy. So I just think it's just the weirdest year ever. And I think for me, I like, like yourself, I like to be social, I like to be out and have fun. And it's just been weird to like not be able to do all those things this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not travel and not.
Yeah, and just even not to see your family as often, and see your friends. Those were our times to decompress and kind of get back to, normal and seeing everybody and having a good time. And it's been tough.
Well, and then you have a little, like I had a runny nose and a sore throat last week. So you just automatically, like, I would have never thought with like before the pandemic that it was anything but like a cold or like allergies. And so I like freaked out and I was like, I have to get tested. I have to, because you're just thinking of like my parents, the office and everything like that. And it's just a weird situation.
Oh yeah, I had just last week I had a huge scare because I got pneumonia. I had every symptom you could think of for COVID. I had the shortness of breath, I had fever, I had headache, and so I was like, I have COVID. I thought I had COVID.
Yeah.
Went to the hospital, and luckily they tested me like, no COVID, but you're pretty bad on pneumonia.
Yes.
But they didn't want to keep me at the hospital because there's so many COVID patients.
Yeah.
Like, we don't
and then
want
you're
you
more
to get
susceptible
it.
at that point.
And so they said if you did get COVID, we'd probably have to keep you, so we want to send you home. And so it's scary, like experience that feeling that, the shortness of breath, you can't breathe, and to know like if I had COVID, it would have gotten worse and I could have been on an intubator, and it's scary to see families. And I've seen some of our clients who have gotten it and some have passed because of it. And it's just sad that, their families are calling saying they got COVID and, they're done, they can't go they can't do anything more with the case or can't do anything more. So it's sad, but it's scary to think of like how much it's affected not just your immediate family, but your relatives and everyone around, especially here in El Paso being such a big hotspot.
Pneumonia. My dad had bilateral one, and he almost passed away from that. It's like people don't realize that one's really serious when you get that. Yeah,
and I got it right before we had a trip planned to Ruidoso, and I got it right before Ruidoso, and I was just in bed like half the time and couldn't really enjoy it, and got back home and went straight to the doctor, and my wife said, you're going to the hospital. Went to the hospital and stayed there for about 6-7 hours, and then just been recovering since. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How's your wife been with the at-home learning and everything?
Oh my God, virtual learning has been,
I'm like,
I love you very much for dealing with that. Yes, with our two kids.
Does she come home and she's like, I need my bottle of wine? Yeah. She's like, leave me alone.
Well, we'll talk on the phone, and sometimes I'll bring the flowers and wine. And be like, I know you've had a bad day. Like, I feel guilty drinking without her right now, but I love trying to get her that comfort because she deals with so much.
It's so much stress.
It is. And then when you see your own kid, and I've seen it, I've been there for one day and I was about to pull my hair out because like my daughters are there and I'm like, just pay attention, just do what they're asking you to do. And she's like finding every excuse she can to like get away from it. So, yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough.
I think with the virtual, I feel so bad for a lot of the kids and just right now because they're not really getting that education. I don't care what anyone says. They're not getting any type of education right now because they can get up and go, they're on their phone, or they can just get up and walk out and do all that stuff, and they're not able to really just sit there and then also the social interaction with the friends and stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah, my daughter misses her friends, and one of the hard parts is that she's in 4th grade now, but she was supposed to have learned all the multiplications in 3rd grade, and now they're just assuming that she got it, and she really missed half the year last year.
Well, because they were like off and on, off and on.
And so teachers are kind of pushing forward, and it's just difficult because they didn't have that time last year, and so it's falling a lot to the parents to kind of step in and try and do all that extra work to try and get them back to speed to where they need to be.
Yeah, and then if you have 2 of them that are working, or you've just got, you have no flexibility, it's just hard to manage doing all that. That's why a lot of my friends, they start putting their kids in charter school because they're like, he's not learning, or they're not learning, and they need that teacher to be able to explain, hey, this is how you do this or this is how you do that. And I know the teachers too are frustrated too.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, wine has definitely become a staple in our household.
She's probably like, bless her. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's tough. Because you said she was a teacher, right?
Yeah, so she turned down a position so that she could stay home and be our full-time teacher with the girls because they're so young. It's like you can't just leave them there and to do it themselves. So she's at home, and luckily we're able to have, like you were saying, we have her there to be with. Some people both parents are working, so I don't know how they would manage that because even we're pulling our hair with her being there full time.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't imagine how other families are doing it.
Oh my gosh. And are your daughters like interested in doing law? Do they like say, Daddy, what do you do?
Oh, no, not really. They want to be like veterinarians. They love
That's
animals.
hilarious.
So, yeah,
and I know
cats.
it changes as they get older, but it's cute when you start seeing them when they're little that they want to do those things.
They're like, a lawyer? Yeah, I think my dad does it, but I don't know about that. Yeah. So it's like, I have the family business ready to go. We need someone to step up and take it after we're done.
And they're like, no.
They're like, nah.
They're like, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's just crazy when they're younger. You see their little personalities just really come out, and I think each one's completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah, my youngest is totally different from my oldest, and it's just, I wanted a third, but my wife was saying, nope, after 2, we're done. No more. Just because we would lose that man-on-man type of thing. I have one, she has one, and if we had a third, it'd be chaos.
Well, Abby has 4.
Oh my God. How do you manage?
You see, she's barely alive because of it. That's why she's so skinny. Running after them 4 kids all over the place.
Oh my God, I give it up to you. Yeah, because with two, it's hard enough just with the 2, but 4, wow.
Well, and I have like my son, he's going to be 4, but he's still 3. And then I have my daughter that's 1. And so when we first brought her home, he just wasn't understanding it. And to this day, she still annoys the hell out of him. And so I think now she's walking and now he like gets it more. But even still, it's like, I feel like once she gets to like 2 or 3 where he can really play with her, then it won't be so. But right now, we make sure that she's alive, and then we make sure that he's, entertained too, because he just is like annoyed with her.
Right, in my household, it's my youngest is always wanting to do what my oldest is doing, and so they're just like chasing each other, and he's like, get away from me, get away from me. So, but yeah, and it's so weird because I'm thinking I have trouble with 2 kids, and my mom was one of 14. She was the 14th kid in her family. I was like, I don't even know how they did that. So.
Oh my God, they're probably raising each other. That's insane.
Yeah. So.
And do you guys live on the east or west side?
West side.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you guys part of the country club or anything out there?
No, Festival Hills area. So I live pretty close to my dad and my brother. And my sister. We're all kind of in the same general area. Yeah, I've always been a West Sider. And I was talking about how my wife introduced me to the East Side. Like I was a very sheltered West Sider where didn't ever go to the East Side except for Sam's or Western Playline when I was a kid type of thing. And so when I met my wife, she like opened my eyes to like, oh, this is El Paso. This is the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. So she showed me, all the different East Side places to eat, all the things to do, all the different bars that we could go out, and I loved it. So.
Well, there's a reason why they're the highest in the COVID range is on the East Side because they like to party. Like one of our friends, she had gotten, it was during the pandemic, so her and her husband got an Airbnb outside of, like, on the East Side, so they could, like, still be safe, but they can have, like, their own time. And I thought it was a great idea because they're on the West Side, so she's like, well, we want to see the East Side. And she was just like, holy hell, like, they just don't think COVID's going around. Because she would go to, they'd go to dinner and stuff, and she'd be like, it's so packed. I was like, there's a reason why. The high numbers are over there.
And I saw, like, a heat map on, like, Facebook. And it was, like, the big red spot on the East Side. I was like...
So what are your guys' future plans on traveling?
Oh, my God, I can't wait to travel. But... even just to go to Cancun or to Cabo or something in Mexico is what hopefully our trip will be next summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy just to think and we used to travel a lot, like I was saying.
Yeah.
And so we definitely want to go, and we had, before this we were talking about how we wanted to be with the family and spend more time before COVID, and now we have a ton of family time with our girls. So I was like, okay, now we got to
do mom and dad
we got to do
time.
mom and daddy time. We got to go and do our little trip. So yeah, I think we'll probably do like a Cancun trip hopefully next summer.
We got me and my husband got married in Puerto Vallarta, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not a sober person in sight that whole week. It
Good,
was literally like
be.
we were just like it was 100 guests, and we were all.
Oh, that's how we should be.
And it was funny too because like a lot of his family, they were like scared to go to Mexico.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, it's a 5-star resort. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting timeshares and everything out there once they got out there. Because it's like the jungle. It's kind of like Cancun, that it's got the jungle, but it doesn't have like the beach as much.
Yeah.
But it's a cool place. I liked it a lot.
I'm all about the all-inclusive.
Yeah. Like I said, with kids,
yeah.
have fun.
Exactly.
We ain't going to California. We're going to Mexico because I'm like, you can order what you want, and mom and dad can drink all they want.
See, I love buying shots for people. So when I went to the first all-inclusive, I was like, you know what? We get shots. I'll get you shots. I'll get it. And I kept on bringing shots and shots and shots. So it was great.
We had, it was the hotel we were at is the Garza. And then they had just opened up this one Masai that was just adults. And so it's like this really, really nice swanky place, and it's got like a huge infinity pool over. Oh, nice. So they were like, I remember like we would just shots after shots, and it was like a blackout the whole week, like the whole week. I just remember like all of us had so much fun because it was just like, and you just see everyone in the wedding that was staying there, everyone knew it was like the perfect time.
Yeah, I had a bad experience in Cabo because I love buying shots and drinks, and I love having everybody around me happy. So I'm like, if I'm having a shot, you all have to have a shot. And so I swear I got drugged in Cabo because I've never really like blacked out to the point where I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
And that happened to me. I was in the pool at the pool bar. I love pool bars and
the day
have drinks.
Awesome.
Yes. And then all of a sudden I just black out and I wake up with my wife next to me, and the first thing I said, "I'm sorry." I knew I couldn't remember anything that happened. I was like, "I'm sorry, babe. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry." But yeah, I've never, usually I'll have like little glimpses of what was going on, and I'm never that bad. But I was very happy, and I can't remember things. So
we've all been there, though. I can't say. Well, especially UT. I'm sure that you had a lot of fun there.
Oh my God, yeah. UT was a blast. That's where I learned how to drink. That was my education outside of the education.
Well, that's what I told my parents. I said, these get degrees. It's okay, Mom. We're good. Because they'd always be like looking at me like, Victoria, like my dad said, only 4 years. That's all I said I was going to pay for. And I'm like, it's fine. Now I said it helped me work on my socializing skills and bringing people together. Yeah. So I was like, it all paid out.
Oh, yeah. See, and when I was here in El Paso, like, I really didn't go to Juarez too much. I was a good little.
That's how I was.
I only went like once during my high school times, and so when I got to UT, I was like, oh, what is this alcohol? Then I learned very fast. Yeah. After that, yeah.
Well, and UT is like it's so much fun. Do you go to the football games usually?
Oh my God, yeah, that was a huge eye opener. What football games? Because I used to go to UTEP games and I'd be the ones throwing paper airplanes at the top, to see if we get to the field type of thing. And then I went to a UT game and I was like, oh my God, 100,000 people, and it was just amazing, yeah. So.
Well, that's what I told my husband. I'm like, you haven't been to a game, so you go to a Notre Dame game, and and he went to Texas Tech, so they have a lot of fun. But I was like, it's so different, and I just love like the atmosphere. That's why I feel like this year the sports and all that stuff just isn't like.
Yeah.
It's not the same. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, but this year I really haven't been watching or anything because I'm just like, I'm just over 2020.
Yeah, and it's sad, you'll hear, like, I'll be watching football and you hear they'll put the stadium noise on, and then you look up, there's like nobody in there.
It's the paper people. Exactly. I'm like the World Series and all that stuff, you see everyone, and I was like, okay, this is just not the same at all.
Oh yeah, I got so much into the like UT football, like I joined the organization that does the largest world's Texas flag, Alpha Phi Omega. And so we'd run on the field every pregame, and we'd be down there, and I remember looking up and seeing all, the 100,000 people just cheering, and I was just like on the field. It's an amazing feeling.
My senior year of college, I had gone, my roommates will attest to this. In college, you're just drinking all the time. But I literally was taking shots at like 10 o'clock in the morning, got like obliterated. And they wouldn't let me in the Notre Dame Stadium. And you have the ticket and everything. They wouldn't let me in. So my friends were like, they were just like, what are you going to do? So I was like, it's fine. And I guess during this time, and they just will try to reenact it. But I had another friend that was like, okay, I'll walk you to the cab so you can go home. But I guess I had said, no, I'm not missing the last game of my senior year. So I had gotten a scalper that was selling a Notre Dame ticket, negotiated, blacked out at this point, negotiated to get me the ticket at half price because the game had already started, and I was like, you're not going to sell this ticket. And then I didn't have the cash, so I had to get my friend to fork over the cash. Then snuck back into the student section. I still don't remember how I did any of that, but they were just literally like, how the hell did you get back in?
Oh, yeah. Football games are all about the pre-drinking and partying.
Yes, it's so much fun, though. I will say I want, like, my kids to have that experience, is to go and, like, really have, like, the whole college experience to where they go to football games and have their friends and, like, just, how do I put it? Undergrad, I didn't really learn, like, I can't tell you what I learned because I barely went by, but, you know, as far as, like, growing up, you start learning, you're an adult, but you're not really an adult at that point.
Yeah, I agreed. And I think that's what kind of led me from pre-med to law, because you have to be so focused on pre-med, and I was having such a good time. I was like, yeah, I think sociology and history I double majored in sociology and history. After I left, I was biology and chemistry.
Oh, God.
And so after 2 years of that, I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be a fun life.
Well, even I saw my friends nursing, like even the Texas Tech program here, I'm always like, oh my God, I don't know how they get through that.
Yeah, and it's tough. You have to have that focus and dedication. And, you know, I was having such a good time. I was like, no, I think I could be a lawyer and still have fun.
Yeah, you're like, I'm still good.
And that was true, by the way. I became a lawyer, and I came back to El Paso, and I was hitting every bar up here.
Hey, you know, I think every person has their way of, like, living and, like, having fun and stuff. And I think that if you're a social person, it's really hard to do the medical field. That was like, no. Yeah,
and that's where I met my wife at one of those best of the best parties, and we were having a good time, and that's what I fell in love with, is just, you know, she's such a social butterfly, and I loved myself how I was with her, so it's just fun.
Well, I think it's fun when you can go out and, like, you don't have to worry that she's okay or you're okay. You guys can just have fun together and have a good time. Especially the older you get, you forget that there's still that fun person inside of you. Especially being parents, because the kids, they suck the life out of you. They do. And I love them, but they do.
I have that fun person, but it's just the recovery time is so much tougher.
It is a lot longer.
I used to be able to go out, like, you know, night after night and night. Now I need like 2 days to recoup after a night of drinking.
Well, it was funny because Labor Day weekend, my parents were like, my husband's parents, they have a house up in Alto and Ruidoso, and they were like, well, you can spend Labor Day and then we'll all help with the kids so you guys can have like a weekend to yourself. And we're like, yes, we have. And we hadn't had a weekend alone without the kids in a long time, without both of them, because usually, you know, they'll take one or, you know. So I remember we're both like, yeah, we're going to party, we're going to have fun. And like we get there and the first thing we do is take a nap.
I was sleeping because it was a very, very valuable.
Yeah, I was like, we'll get to that later.
I have to take my nap before we go out drinking. And then we go out.
And then you're like, okay. And that's what happened. And then we'd be in bed by 10. So it worked out perfect.
Yeah, we've done a lot of the alcohol delivery to the house.
Yeah.
So we've been, during this pandemic, since we can't drink out in the bars, my wife and I will just have fun at the house.
Have you been to Total Wines yet?
I have. I loved it. And we had a Total Wine in Austin. And we'd go there all the time. And then when we heard it opened here in El Paso, we're like, yes, we went out there.
People have no idea. That's what I'm like, no offense to Specs, no offense to Western, but I'm like, when you go there, it's like they have the coolest stuff, and I just like that they're knowledgeable about the alcohol.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we will, and I just wish there was one on the west side, you know, because we'll travel all the way to the east side to get to go there, but I just want one on the west side.
You're like, come on now. Well, I'm surprised there isn't one like where Cabela's and that area is at, but I think it would do really well there.
I think so too. Yeah, definitely.
I'm like, I think I don't know, but what do I know? Like,
Now's the time. Everyone's drinking right now, so it'd be a great time to open.
well, one of my friends, she had opened up a liquor store here in Cotton. It's called Los Depot or Los Depot. Don't kill me out for not repeating that right. But it's like straight up Cotton. And so she was like, yeah, I just decided to open it up because you saw how much the alcohol sales were going on. And then she's got a drive-through and everything. So I was like, so it's nice because like Lucas goes to school up here at First Press. So literally it's like up the street. And then you can just go through the drive-through, pick it up. And then be like, there you go.
Oh yeah, like one of those. I'd never been through like a drive-through alcohol place until I went to Buddy's Beer Barn. I don't know if you remember that on the east side.
Oh yes, of course.
That my wife, she introduced me. I was like, I love this. Like, we were driving through all the time.
You'd be like, what do you want?
Yeah, it was really cool.
As a parent, yes, and Eskimo Hut too. Yes. I love Eskimo Hut. Like they have the to-go drinks. Love those too.
And then now Taco Bana does their to-go margaritas.
Yes,
love those.
I was like, I think so. Some of it hasn't been bad with the epidemic. I'm like, I do like the to-go because then you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, they give you the little bottles on your go.
Like, and then you can just mix it up and there you go. But I was like, the only thing I don't like is we went to Topgolf on Friday, and they were like, you can only have a drink every 30 minutes because me and my husband were having a date night. And I'm like, what the hell? What? Yeah, you can only do every 30 minutes.
That's crazy.
Because it can't be like a bar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you go to Topgolf, just get doubles. Just like,
make it a good one.
I was like, just get doubles because we were just like, okay, we're here, and they're like, yeah, you can only order alcohol every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not fun.
No, I knew that. That was the biggest part of Topgolf is having the shots and drinks all the time.
Do you guys go there too or not?
Yeah, because I live right up the street from Topgolf. If you go up Festival, that's kind of where I live in that area. So yeah, once they opened that Topgolf, we were going quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's.
And they don't do the salt around the rim anymore or any of that stuff because of COVID.
Oh my God, yeah, we haven't been since the pandemic, since March, I guess.
So what has been your takeaway with the epidemic right now?
Oh, it is sad. It is much more serious than a lot of people are taking it to be, especially here in El Paso. But I've seen a lot of our clients getting COVID and the effects, the long-lasting effects as we were talking about. So it's much more dangerous than everyone thinks it is, and it's sad to see how it affects families so much, especially having to go to the hospital by themselves and having to leave your loved one by themselves to go through all that. I've known so many clients and so many of even my friends, they've gone and they have to leave their loved ones at the hospital because they can't go in with them.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of, you have to fend for themselves, and they're not feeling well to begin with, and it's kind of scary. So it's just, it's a scary disease, and hopefully we'll come out of it pretty soon.
I was like, hopefully we'll get through this.
Yes, the vaccine or the treatment or something. And
just something.
Something,
At least we can not pass it on or all that, because it just took, this year was horrible.
Yeah, this year has just been kind of a scratch. Like, from March to now, we've been at home, we've been working, but it's just.
What are you guys planning for Halloween with the kids, since we can't go out?
Yeah, we were at first planning to do, just handing out candy, but then since they canceled trick-or-treating, I think we're just going to dress up and be at home and kind of maybe visit our in-laws and my mom and dad, and that's about it. So, and we our Ruidoso trip was kind of our Halloween kind of break, and we went with costumes and everything with some friends. So we did our Halloween kind of trip then. Yeah,
I just think you have to right now just be inventive. And luckily with the younger ones, they're not that crazy about you have to do over the top or anything like that.
As long as they get their candy.
And I have to hide it or I eat it. That's my thing.
I know. I see that candy. They have the baskets of candy. I'm always picking one.
Yeah, I know. That it's horrible. And I'm always like, no, you can't have it. Me, it's ring pops, nerds, and all that stuff. It's the little ones. So I'm just get a little bit.
I'm a Reese's, the Reese's cups fan. Oh,
that's my husband.
I'll eat all those. I can eat a whole bag myself.
He loves all those. All the good stuff, he says.
Especially with some wine. Oh.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, where can people get a hold of you guys if they're needing to get their Social Security help or anything like that?
Yeah, so everything right now, because the pandemic, is by phone. So call us 915-533-9718. that's the best way to get a hold of us. Talk to us. All our consultations are free. We don't charge to talk to us, and we only charge if we win your case. And so
Okay.
one of the things that we like to do is that we'll take your case and we'll say we can help, and then at the end, once we win, and only if we win, that's when we get 25% of what they win. And the government pays us. They take out that 25%, send it to us, and they send the rest to the claimant. So you can come talk to us, and it's free of charge. We want to help. We can help you, and we need to kind of get you through this process so you can get your health benefits plus some money to help you for any everyday expenses.
Do you feel like a lot of people don't know their benefits that they can get?
I do, and a lot of people pay taxes because a lot of people just pay their taxes. They don't really know what it goes to. And the FICA taxes, that's actually Social Security taxes. So this is money that we're asking the government to pay back to you because this is your money. You're paying this money as a insurance policy. If you get sick or if you get hurt, you can get this money back when you can't go back to work, and you get Medicare as part of your benefits when you can't work. And so a lot of people don't know that this is not a government handout. This is money that they took out of your check from when you were working and put it aside for this exact purpose. And so when this happens, when you do get sick or when you do get hurt and you need this money, that's when the government starts putting up walls and saying, no, you can have it. And that's when we come in and say, no, this is exactly when they need it.
Okay.
So, and we have our whole family here waiting. Ready.
Yeah. Give them a call. They're awesome. You guys are really cool, very welcoming, awesome building.
you.
So, well, thank you so much for being on the show. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.